Hello everyone, I'm Alicia. A while back I showed you guys this flower necklace. I made 2 videos on it. I did one video showing how I made the beaded leaves and a second video on the beaded vine. If you missed these 2 videos, I will leave links for them in the description bar below this video, so look down there. I wanted to show you guys how I made the beaded flowers. And by the way, these aren't the same beaded flowers that I already have a video on. The flowers in this necklace have 2 layers of petals, and my original design has 1 layer. So this was my original design, and it's just 1 layer of petals. And I just did some crystals on top. Anyway, I've been collecting Czech petal beads from lima beads, and I was planning on showing how to make the same flowers in this necklace. But my imagination went off track, and I wanted to see if I can get more petals in my flowers. So I've been experimenting with several different sizes and shapes of Czech side drilled beads. So here are all the flowers that I've created, and believe it or not, but every single one of these are weaved the same exact way. The only thing that's making them look different is the colors of beads that I've used, the shapes, and the sizes, and I've used them in different places. So all of these flowers here, every single one of them has 4 petal layers. Now in my original flower, I only did 1 layer of petals, but I really wanted like a really heavy petal flower where it had a lot going on in it. So in my second flower design here, looking back at this, in this flower, what I did in between my teardrop beads, I have 1 10-0 seed beads. And I thought, instead of doing a 10-0 seed bead in that area, and by the way, the seed beads in here in between the teardrops are going up like this, okay? They're pointing up. You can see the holes right here pointing up. Now my teardrop beads are going sideways like this, the hole in them. So I thought, what if instead I did teardrop or seed beads? Instead of doing seed beads, what if I did daggers or teardrops or another bead that had the hole going straight up, but made it look like I had more petals. So in these 3 flowers here, instead of using that seed bead there, I did daggers. So right here where these red daggers are at, that's where I would normally have my seed bead. So that's how I got my 3rd petal in all of these flowers here. All of them have the daggers in the 3rd petal section that I weaved. Now, you don't have to use just daggers in that area, you can use other beads. In these 2 flower rings here, I did teardrops instead of daggers. And these rings are just killer, they're so gorgeous. And these really large flowers up here, instead of using the daggers or teardrops, I used these lentils because the leaf beads that I used on the backs of these flowers were really large. So I was able to do these very large lentil beads. And I'm going to show you what all of them look like. They're so pretty. Okay, here's the last large one. Now this one here, I already had all the beads to make this, and believe it or not, all of these beads are from a thrift store. I've just collected them over the years, and I was going through all my beads trying to find beads that had side drilled holes on one side of the bead. Either the hole can be going up or it can go at a side. I was just looking through all my stuff, and I found all of these acrylic beads, and I made it the same way that I made all of these, and I just couldn't believe how this flower turned out. Now this flower is really huge. As you can see, it's the size of the palm of my hand. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. I'm thinking about attaching it to one of my beaded purses that I have in my wall, but I'm not sure because this right now doesn't go with any of my purses, so I'm just going to have to wait till I find one that I can attach it to. So anyways, all of my flowers here have 4 petals. So I just told you how I got the 3rd petal. Now how I got the 1st petal, all I did is when I went to pick up my seed bead, I also picked up a small bead that I can use for my 1st petal. So in this one I did these tiny little 6mm lentils, and that's how I got my 1st petal. And this one I actually used larger teardrop beads, but I was able to use the larger ones instead of the smaller ones because the beads I had in the bottom were quite large. So that's how that was able to work. Now in these ones here, I did the small teardrops on my 1st petal, This one I did the larger one, and again I was able to use larger teardrops because I had large leaf beads that I was using in the row below my first. So this is my second row, this is my third row, and this is my fourth row of petals. And these here, I did teardrops on this one. This one I did lentils on this, and in this one here I did teardrop beads. Now these two flowers here are rings, so you could do different things with these flowers. They are pretty large rings, but they are just so awesome because there's no other ring like this. These are just killing me how awesome they are. This is my original flower, and as you could see they are a lot higher, but they're just so much more interesting to me, and I just love these two. They're so pretty. So these are rings, and all the other ones here are pendants. And when I did the pendants, I was going to do one beaded bail, and then I realized that, well, this isn't going to work out, because if I just did one bail, this flower is going to be flipping on my necklace, and it's not going to be very exciting. So I did two bails, and that totally stopped the flower from flipping over. So now the front is always going to be facing, and it's never going to flip. So every single one of these have two bails on the back, and you can make the bails as small or as big as you want them to fit whatever you want them to go on. And you can wear these pendants on cords, chains, ribbons, whatever you could think of. If you already have chains in your jewelry box, go ahead and go through all those chains to see what you can hang them on. And these look great on short chains and also long chains. I'm actually wearing my pendants on a 30-inch chain, and they're very low down, but I like how it looks. It's very cool. And another thing is, instead of wearing just one, you can wear several of them on one chain, and they're very easy to string onto a chain or a cord or whatever you want. And again, like I said, you can make these bails all different sizes depending on what you want them to go on. So see, just like this, I put it through these bails here, and my pendant is on my chain. Something that I did try, I put a whole bunch of them on one chain together, and it looks so cool, and I'm gonna go ahead and do that and show you what it looks like. I just put 5 of them on this chain. I did 2 small ones on the sides and the 3 large ones here in the middle, and it's just really neat. It's like wearing a bouquet on your neck. They're so cool. You can wear them by themselves or all together. Now another idea I had was, instead of just doing a ring or pendant, and remember you can also connect them together like I did in this necklace here, and I actually told how I connected them together in the leaf video, or the vine. I think it was the leaf one, but you gotta watch and see because I can't totally remember. I have a bad memory. Anyways, another thing you can do with them is attach them to a pin back, and you can wear the flowers as a pin, and you can pin it to your purse, your clothes, scarf, whatever you want to do. But yeah, that would be so cool attached to a pin. And another idea I had was the barrettes. Remember I did a video on a beaded barrette? I thought that these would look really cool attached to this. And you could do whatever you want. I thought it would be neat to have one in the middle, and then on the sides do the beaded vine, or do like maybe 2 or 3 flowers and just have all flowers on it, but that might make it really heavy. So the best way to go probably on the pendant would be to have one in the middle and do some like beaded leaves on the side. So these are just some ideas that I had with these flowers. So now I'm going to give you the material list, which is really crazy. Here is the list of materials you will need to make a beaded flower. To make a pendant, you will need 3 feet of 8-pound test monofilament, and the diameter on this is 0.011. To make a ring, you will need 40 inches of this 8-pound monofilament. Now I'm using a new stringing material, and this was recommended to me by a viewer. This is 7-strand Beadalon bead stringing wire, and this is a nylon coated stainless steel wire. The size of this is 0.010, and it's actually thinner than this stuff here. Now because it is this thin, I'm able to tie knots with it, and it's really awesome stuff. So it's up to you on what you guys want to use. You can use the monofilament or this stuff here. This stuff here is more expensive than this, and I would say that this is better quality than the monofilament, but I still use both of them. I go back and forth on my stringing materials. So this is the stringing materials you will need, and again I'll repeat it. To make a pendant you'll need 3 feet of the 8-pound, and to make a ring you'll need 40 inches. And if you want to learn more about this, just check down there in the description bar. You're also going to need 10 OC beads. This tube here is 10 OC beads from A. Seymour, and they are Czech. Now I actually recommend, if you guys don't have any 10 OC beads, to go to Walmart and buy their 11 OC beads. Because these C beads here at Walmart actually are not 11-Os, they are larger. They're actually 10-Os, and I want to say that some of the colors are 9-Os. This tube here, I'm really thinking that they are 9 OC beads because they are larger than all of the 10 OC beads that I own. So this flower, this one, and this one are done with Walmart C beads, and I'm really thinking they're all 9 OC beads because they are larger than all of my 10 OC beads. So I recommend that you guys go to Walmart, get some cheap tubes of their C beads, pick through them, find the ones that are uniform, and use them for this project. Now I'm going to go through each petal layer and tell you what kind of beads you can use for each layer, because you can't use every bead for each layer. You can only use certain ones for each layer. So in the first layer, you can use 6mm Czech top drilled lentils, and they all have 1 hole. Okay, these work great for the very top layer. I use them in this one and in this flower. And I'm also going to be using these in the flower that I do in the video. Now these over here are Czech Teardrops, and they are 4 by 6mm. They are very small teardrop beads. Now these flowers over here, I used the larger teardrops that I have, but I was only able to use the larger ones because my second petal was bigger than these. Now if my second petal is smaller than these, then I cannot use these. I have to use a smaller one to go on the top. Makes sense, right? Smallest to biggest. Now for the second petal layer, you can use Czech Teardrops. These are 8mm, and I think they also call them 6 by 9mm teardrops. And these are just all the colors I have over here, and I showed you earlier what it looked like up close. Okay, another bead you can use is Czech petal shaped beads, and they are 8 by 6mm. And I have all of those in this container here. And by the way, this is not a kit. These are just beads that I've collected, and I put them all in this container, and this is what they look like close up. They're curved, they're shaped like a petal, they're really cute. They're pretty small. So those are all the colors I have, and most of them I got from Beadaholique. And again, those are called Czech petal shaped beads, 8 by 6mm. The third petal that you can use in the second layer are these here. These are Czech Pointy Droplets. These are 11 by 8mm. They are really neat, unique looking beads. They're so cool. And the fourth petal kind that you can use for the second petal layer is this here. This is Czech leaf drops, and they are 8 by 12mm. I saw a whole bunch of different looking ones on lima beads, this same leaf bead. Now this bead over here I used in the second one right here. This is my second petal layer, but they are really unusual. I don't know what they called. I've never seen them anywhere else. It's just something I had in my stash. It's a point, but the hole is in the middle of the bead, but these worked in this. So if you have any strange looking beads like this, you could probably use them in these flowers. So I really recommend that you go through your stash and see what you got. So this is the second petal layer. These are the kinds of beads you can use for the second petal layer. Now for the third layer, you can use Czech top drilled lentils, and they are 13mm. So these lentils right here I used in these 3 flowers, and these are still at lima beads. You can find them right now. And I also used Czech Teardrops, and they are 8mm or 6x9mm, and I used this size in these two rings. The third petal layer are these teardrops, and in these three flowers over here I used Czech daggers. These are the small daggers. They are 3x11mm daggers. You don't want to go any bigger than the 3x11mm because it doesn't look right and they don't sit right on the flower. The smaller size is the way to go. So again, this is the third petal layer. These are all the beads you can use in the third petal layer. So now for the fourth and final petal layer. I have these smaller petals up here. They are called Czech curved leaf. They are 12x14mm, and these are a smaller petal compared to these here. These ones here are called Czech carved leaf drop. They are 12x17mm. Now when I use these, I had to use these with them because, I don't know, the other beads that I used up there, the daggers and the teardrops, they just didn't sit right, and I kind of felt like I really needed the lentils to help with the proportion of the flowers. So if you buy the larger leaves, I recommend that you buy some lentils to go along with them to make these flowers here if you want the larger ones, but it's up to you. Okay, so this is the fourth and final petal layer. So this is the material list, and remember, I always leave the list of materials down there in the description bar below this video so you can see everything in writing. I'll also leave links to my Facebook page, links to other videos that I talked about in this video, and also links to where I bought these beads and string materials. So check down there in the description bar so you can get all the info you need. I went ahead and I cut my wire, and now the first thing I'm going to do is make the very center of the flower right here. So I'm going to pick up 5 10-0 seed beads, just like that. I'm going to slide them down, and then I'm going to take my other wire and I'm going to crisscross my wires through that 5th seed bead. Okay, I'm going to put my wires together, and I'm going to bring this seed bead down to form a little circle like that. Now I'm going to take one of my wires, I'm going to pick up one 10-0 seed bead, one of these little lentils, 6mm lentils, and then one of these petal beads. Doesn't matter which direction it goes on. The first time we put it on it doesn't, but the second one's going to matter. I have a seed bead, lentil, this petal bead, and now I'm going to do another lentil and also a seed bead. And I'm going to slide this lentil back up, just like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to crisscross my wires through this 10-0 seed bead and through the lentil. Okay, just like that. And I'm going to bring this down. And now we have what looks like this, okay? So my petal is curved up this way, so this is going to be the top of my flower. So I'm going to take this wire here at the top, and I'm going to weave it through this next seed bead right next to it. And so it doesn't kink, I'm going to loosen this up a little bit and pull it through. And it actually did kink on me, but it's okay. Okay, so just like that, that's what we have. And now what I'm going to do is pick up a petal, and I need the curved side to lay up, so I'm going to pick up a petal, and I need it to lay just like this. I'm going to take my needle, or the needle on my, it's like a needle, on my wire. I'm going to take my wire, I'm going to go through it like that, so I know my petal's laying up in the same direction. Then I'm going to pick up a lentil and my 10-0 seed bead. Okay. And I'm going to crisscross through these beads again and bring this down. Pull it tight. You don't want to see any excess wire. Okay, so this is what I have now. Now I'm going to take this wire, and I need it to pass through this 10-0 seed bead right here. So I'm going to turn this around and go through it just like this. Pull this through, pull it tight, okay? Now again, I'm going to pick up a petal bead, and I need my petals to go up, so I'm going to go through it like this, and pull this through. Then I'm going to pick up my fourth lentil, and also a seed bead. Then I'm going to take my other wire, and I'm going to crisscross through these beads, okay, and pull this down. Pull it tight, and this is what we have. Again, I'm going to take this wire on the inside, and I'm going to reposition it through this seed bead here. Okay, so it's going to go right here through this seed bead, just like that. Pulling that through, pulling it tight. Okay, and this is what I have. Okay, now I'm going to take this, lay it back down. I have to pick the petal up, make sure that it's pointing up, curved up like that. So I'm laying it down, and I'm passing through it, and I'm making sure that it matches the rest of my petal and that they're all going in the same direction. Now I'm going to pick up a lentil after this petal and my last 10-0 seed bead, and I'm going to crisscross through these two, bring this down. And I forgot to mention, because I didn't have any problems, that you want to make sure that all your first row are standing up, because sometimes these beads up here on the top will want to flip and point down to the bottom of your flower. So you always want to make sure that the first row are standing up on the top of your flower and not pointing down. Okay, so right now I'm here. I pulled it tight, and what I'm going to do is I have to reposition this wire on the top of my flower. So right now it's sticking out here, so I'm going to take this wire, I'm going to pass through this seed bead, and then I'm going to go down this seed bead and also down through that lentil. Okay, so through the seed bead, through the lentil, I'm going to hold this in place and pull it out the bottom. Okay, just like that. I'm going to pull both of my wires tight, and I'm going to pick up my last bead. Now again, all of my petals are curved up, so I have to make sure that I pick it up correctly. So right now it's curved up on my mat, so I'm going to pick it up just like this, and I'm going to crisscross both of my wires through this petal and bring it on down. Okay, pull it tight, and this is what we have. So this is normal. This is always going to happen. Even if we had the teardrops here, these petals, the second row, are going to point up like that. But once I start adding the third and fourth layer, they're going to curve up and look just like that, just like a flower. Okay, so now we are ready to do the third and fourth row of our petals. So for this row, what I'm going to do is I have to make sure this stays tight, because if it loosens up on me, the flower is going to look strange. Okay, make sure this is tight. I'm going to pick up a teardrop, these larger teardrops, and slide that down. I'm going to pick up a petal. Now I need the petal to lay just like this, upside down, because right now my flower is upside down. So I'm going to make sure that I go through the petal right, so this is what it should look like. I'm picking it up upside down, because when it's weaved through, it lays just like this on the flower. Okay, now I'm going to pick up a second petal, and I'm going to take my other wire and I'm going to crisscross through this petal. Okay, and before I pull this down and make it tight, I'm going to make sure that this is tight again, because it loosens up. Okay, now I'm pulling this, making this tight, and pushing this petal where it has to go, and this is what it looks like. So normally on the second flower that I did, where I just had these petals and teardrops, I would have the seed bead right here where I just put these teardrops, but instead I'm doing the teardrops for more petals. Okay, so pulling this tight, I'm going to take this wire right here that's on the inside of my flowers, pointing towards the inside. I'm going to take this wire and I'm going to push this petal down, the next petal, and I'm going to take this wire and I'm going to pass through this petal right here, okay? Now I'm pulling this wire through, trying to make sure it doesn't kink on me. And as you can see, this petal just popped up above this one, so I'm just going to push this over top and make sure that it lays like that, okay? Now I'm going to pull this tight, and this is what we have. Okay? So here I am now, and what I have to do, I'm going to zoom in so you could see. Right here, I'm going to take a new petal, I'm going to lay it upside down, because that's how it has to lay on my flower. I'm working on the back now. I'm going to pass this wire through it. Okay, so it's going to lay just like this. Now I'm going to pick up a teardrop and I'm going to cross through it. This is my third petal row. Okay, pulling this down. You want to make sure that your second petal row is above your fourth petal, because it flips under like it did earlier, okay? But right now it looks good. Okay, so pulling this tight, everything looks nice and tight. I'm going to take this wire here that's pointing up at the top of my flower, and I'm going to pass through this next petal bead. So if you put your finger on the inside of this, you could push those beads out of the way so you can easily pass through there, okay? It's getting loose again, so I have to tighten it up. And my petal just flipped down, so I'm going to push that back up to the top, and I'm going to pull my wire tight, okay? Laying this back down, here's my next petal. I have to pick it up upside down again, just like this. Slide that down. I'm going to pick up my next teardrop, and I'm going to crisscross through this teardrop. Okay, before I pull this tight, I'm going to pull this again, and I'm going to bring this teardrop down, pull it tight, and make sure that your second petal layer is laying right here over the fourth petal, okay? Make sure that it's not sticking out through the bottom. Okay, so this is tight. The next thing I have to do is I'm going to flip it over because I'm right-handed, take this wire that's coming up, pointing up at the top of your flower, and you want to pass through this next petal bead. So I'm taking this wire coming out here, and I'm going to pass right here through this petal bead and pull this all the way through, and this is what we have. Okay, I'm going to make sure this is tight. And now I'm going to flip this upside down and pick up more of my petals. So here is my fourth petal. I'm going to pick that up, remember, upside down. Slide this on. Now I'm going to pick up my last teardrop, and I'm going to crisscross through this teardrop. Bring this down and pull it tight. Okay, just like that. And looking right here, you could see that this petal wants to stick out the bottom, so I'm going to push it up, and it looks like this. Okay, and once we get the last petal on, that problem will be fixed. Okay, so I'm pulling this tight. I'm going to stick my finger inside of this. I'm going to take this wire that's pointing up at the top of my flower. I'm going to pass through this very last petal bead here. Careful not to grab that wire. Okay, push that through. Just like that. I'm going to pull it tight now. One thing I did notice with this wire is that pulling it tight, there's like a friction with it. With the monofilament, you can pull it tight and everything just slides together even after you've done a few rows. But with this, you have to make sure every row is tight. Okay, so right now I'm here at this petal bead, and what I have to do now exiting out there, is go through this teardrop. Okay? So passing through here, coming out the bottom. Now I have both wires coming out the same spot on each side, okay? One coming out of each petal bead. Now what we do is pull these wires tight. I'm going to pull them individually. Okay, and this is what it looks like. Now I'm going to flip this upside down, flip up my last petal upside down, and then I'm going to cross my wires through this petal and bring it down. Pull it tight, and this is what we have. Now you could see how these petals here are sticking out the back. Once we do the seed beads here on the back, that problem will stop, and they want to cup upwards, just like this. All the flowers are cupping upward because of how I did the seed beads on the back of it, okay? So the next thing to do are the seed beads on the back of our flower. So now I'm ready to put the seed beads on our back of our flower, and something I had to do was when I did these smaller petals here, I did 4 seed beads above each petal, and then between each petal I crisscrossed through 1 seed bead. So this flower here is much bigger. So what I had to do with this flower, I have 6 seed beads above the petals, above each petal, okay? And this one I have 4 above each petal. So if you're using the larger leaves, you're going to have to pick up more seed beads and accommodate to their size. And if you're doing the smaller ones, then you're going to do exactly what I'm doing with this smaller petal here. But you just have to remember how many to pick up when you're working with it. So if you're working with the bigger ones and you're watching me, then you might get confused and accidentally have 4 laying across your petals. And if you do not have enough petals, these will not sit right. It will be really wonky. So I'm going to do mine like this and have 4 seed beads on top of each petal. And again, if you're using the larger leaves here, you'll have to do 6 seed beads on top of these petals and then cross through a seed bead. 6 again, pick up a new seed bead and crisscross through that, okay? So right here I am. I'm going to pick up 1 seed bead, and this will be my cross through seed bead, okay? So I'll slide that down. Then I'm going to pick up 4 seed beads, and these are the 4 that are going to lay on the back of my petal. And again, if you're doing the larger leaves, you'll have to pick up 6 of these, okay? Instead of 4, and slide them down. And then what I'm going to do is pick up 1 seed bead, and I'm going to crisscross through it. Just like that. Crisscrossing, pulling this down, pulling this tight. I'm picking this up, and as you could see, I have a wire that's pointing down. This wire here that's pointing down, I'm going to take and pass through this petal right here, this large petal. Okay, right there's my hole, passing through it and coming out over here on this side. I'm going to pull this wire through, pulling it through, pulling it tight, and this is what it looks like. Okay, got to make sure it's tight before we move on. Now this wire that's left over here on the top is the wire that I have to pick up my 4 seed beads with again. So I'm going to pick up the 4, and again, to remind you, if you're doing this, you're going to pick up 6. Okay, so I have my 4, I'm sliding those down. Now I'm picking up the one that I crisscrossed my wires through, and I'm bringing this down. Pulling it tight. I'm going to pick the flower up again. I'm going to take this wire that's pointing down towards the top of my flower, and I'm going to go through this petal here. In order to do that, you might have to lift the petal up and go through it like down here at the bottom of the flower, and then it comes out the side. Okay, make sure you don't catch any threads while you're weaving through this, because there's lots of, looking in there, you can see lots of wires that you can catch. and that would cause problems. Okay, so I just did the backs of 2 petals. Now I'm going to do my third. Again, I'm using the smaller petals, so I'm picking up 4 seed beads. And again, if you're doing the larger ones right now, if you're doing the larger ones, pick up 6 seed beads. Okay, so here's my 4. I'm sliding those down. I'm picking up my cross through seed bead, and I'm crisscrossing through it, bringing it down, pulling it tight, picking this up again. I have to take this wire right here, and I have to go through my next petal. So I'm going to pass through it, come out the other side, pull it through, pull both my wires tight, and again with this wire that's sticking up over here, I'm going to pick up my 4 seed beads that have to lay on the back of my petal. And again, if you're doing the big ones, remember to pick up 6 seed beads. Now I'm picking up one that I crisscross through that goes between my pink petals, and I'm pulling this down. Now I'm going to make my bails in this area here, so I'm going to take this wire that is pointing down, and I'm going to pass through this 5th petal. Okay, so pushing the wire through, just like that. I'm going to pull this tight, and then I'm going to pass through the very first seed bead over here that we added. Okay, passing through that, pulling this through the back, and this is what we have. Pull each wire tight, pull them individually, and pull them together. Our flower looks beautiful. Now, this is where I'm going to add the bails, and what I've been doing is I pick up 10 seed beads on each wire, and I make loops that are big enough for all the chains and the kinds of necklaces that I like to wear with my pendants. And I found that 10 for me is the perfect number to make bails out of that I can use with most of the chains and the kinds of necklaces that I want to wear my pendants with. So you can use less if you want, or use more. It just depends on what you want to hang your pendants on. So I'm just going to take one of my wires, and I already have this seed bead here, and I have one there, and those are going to be part of my bails, so this is counting as my first seed bead. So I'm going to pick up 9, and I'll have a total of 10, counting that seed bead there. So here's 5, counting that one is 6. I'll slide that down, and I'll pick up 4 more, okay? So go back and double check. I have that one right there, that's counting as my first. Okay, so there's a total of 5, and here's 10. Now I'm going to have a ring of 10 seed beads. So now I have to take this wire and I have to go through this seed bead here, and I'm just going to go around and make a circle. Okay? Make sure that your bail is on the back side of the flower, because this wants to go between here. Okay, so I'm pulling that, making that tight, going over here, pulling this wire. Now I'm going to take this wire, and I already have a seed bead there, so I have to pick up a total of 9. So here's 4. Sliding those 4 down, I now have 5, so I have to pick up 5 more seed beads, and here's my total of 10 seed beads. So slide that down and do the same thing. I'm going to pass through this seed bead right here, and it's wanting to go through the seed bead next to it, so I'm just going to try to push it around with my fingernails so I don't go through it. Okay, so right here I am. Before I pull this too tight, I'm going to go back over here and pull this. Okay, pull both sides tight, and now I'm going to pick up 4 of my 10-0s and crisscross through them. And pull these 4 down. Pull it tight. And now you can see all the way around I have 4 here, 4 there. In between I have the one that I crossed through, 4 here, 1 there, 4 there, 1 that I'm crossing through, 4 here. And now what I have to do is reinforce this so I can tie my knots. I'm going to weave my wires through these sides here, and I'm going to meet both wires right here, and I'll tie a knot. Okay, so right now I have a wire here, so I'm just going to pull this tight. I'm going to move this bail over to the side, and I'm going to pick up these seed beads right here, these 4 seed beads. Okay, I'm going to pass through all 4 of them. Lift this up. There we go. Okay, so I'm right here, and I'm just going through all 4 of those seed beads, pulling that through. Now I have 4 more right here to go through, so I'm going to overlap this seed bead right here. I'm not passing through that one there at all. I'm going to lift these up and go through them. There's 3 of them. So there's 1 more that I have to pass through. Okay. Pull that through. Now I'm going to turn this. I'm over here. I'm going to lay this bail down, and I'm going to pass through these 4. Pull that through. Pull it tight. Now I'm going to go through these 4. It's raining outside right now. It's really heavy rain. Passing through these 4. Just like that. Pulling it tight. Okay, so I'm going to pull this side tight, pull both of them at the same time. If you want, you can go back and check and make sure that your beads are correct. Make sure that you have 10 seed beads in your loops. There's 4 here, 4 there, 4 there, 4 there, 4 there. And remember, if you're making the larger one, you're going to have 6. And instead of crisscrossing through 4 between your bails, you're going to crisscross through 6 seed beads. So right now I'm at the point where we tie our knots. So I'm going to tie a big knot right here since these 2 wires are together. And I'm just going to do like a surgeon's knot. I'm going to go over and under 1 time, bring this knot down, and then I'm going to go over and under 2 times and bring this knot down. Pull that tight. And then I'm going to give a little extra, and I'm just going to go over and under again 2 more times, okay? And then pull that down. Pull tight. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie a knot here and a knot here, because I made this little web right there that I can catch that wire on to tie a knot, and I made one over here. See the little wire that's going across the top that I can catch? So I'm going to take my wires, and you'll notice that one is kind of going to one side and one's going to the other side. So this one's kind of going over here, so I'm going to take this wire through these beads. So I'm going to pass through all 4 of these. Okay. Pushing this through. There's my tweezers here. Pull this tight. Now, your knot might go in your bead, or it might just sit there, and if it sits there, it's fine. I'm not worried about it. It's on the back of the pendant. Okay, now right here is where I have to catch this little wire on the top, and that's sort of hard to do because we're trying to go through this opening here. And if you can't do it, you can use tweezers and push the tweezers up through the bottom. Or another thing you can do to get it through is to bend the tip of your wire like into an L shape, and then you could loop it up through here. Okay, so you can see where I'm at. Now, I like to do what I call a double half hitch knot, where I go through the loop twice, but with this wire I noticed that I cannot do that because it will cause the wire to break. So what I do because this is a large gap here, is I go through the loop one time, I make a knot, pull it down, okay, and to make it more secure, I go back through this same place, make another loop, and I go through the loop again a second time. And then I pull this down, pull it tight, and then I pass my wire through these 4 beads over here on the side. Okay? Now if you want this is secure, you can cut your wire right here at the bail, or you could do what I do, because there is a wire right here, that top wire that we made. You can catch this wire, tie a knot there, and then what I do is I pass through this seed bead, I go all the way around, reinforce this loop, I go back through this same seed bead, and then I'm exiting out right here, and what I do is I go through this petal, I come out over here, and I snip my wire, and I do the same exact thing on this side. So go ahead and tie your knot here, and if you want you can cut it up there, or you could tie another knot and reinforce the bail. It's up to you on how you want to do it. I like to do a step further and go and reinforce it and tie more knots to make the piece stronger. So keep going, tying your knots, and you'll be done. This is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry it was so long, but I wanted to be very informative and make sure that everybody could understand how to make these flowers, and also the different sizes, shapes, and kinds of beads you can use to make these beaded flowers. Remember to check out the description bar down there below the video and check out all the places that I got the beads from, and also the other helpful information that I have down there below in the description bar. And like I said, I also have the beaded leaves, vines, and the ring video down there in the description bar. And if you guys are interested in making these flowers into a ring, if you just go back to my original ring flower video and check out how I did the bottom, you should be able to make the 5-petal ring the same way I did the 6-petal. Now if a lot of you are struggling with making the ring, and if I get enough requests, I'll probably do a video on how to do this style flower with this ring band. So let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys liked this video. Leave me a comment, subscribe if you want to see more of my videos, and like me on Facebook. And don't forget to share pictures of the jewelry we've made from my videos on my Facebook page. Thank you so much for watching.